we actually gave them a Saturday off, and that was much, much needed the way the last 2.5 weeks have gone. And we had some good performance in the last 3 games. We've had some things we still got to improve on and work on. Turnovers in the stretch in the Michigan game in the first half was something still concerning. When we don't turn it over, we're a much better team. But as far as Maryland goes, this might be the best starting 5 in the league. If you look at 3 guards that are shooting over 40% from the 3, Miguel and Rice, and Gillespie is as talented as any guard in this league. And then their 2 bigs are, guys that we've played against. Reese for 3 years. This is his 4th year. He's big, strong. He's gained weight. He's averaging 14 and 9. And Queen has talked about being a lottery pick. He's big. He's a freshman. He may be as good as any in the league. He's averaging 16, so they're averaging 16, 30 points, and 9.5 rebounds between the 2 of them. Now, they do play a lot of minutes. Their depth hasn't been – they haven't played as many players or as many players with minutes. Hopefully that would be an advantage, although they've had a pretty long rest now. They had from Thursday on. And so both teams should be ready to rock and roll. And I still think it'll come down to us not turning it over. They play some pressing, zone pressing. They'll play a little zone. They'll play a lot of aggressive man. I think Kevin's done a good job with this team, putting them together, and but we're excited too. They haven't lost a home game, I think, since early in November against Marquette. If you remember, a few years ago we went there when Cassius was here, and when they're winning, that place is rocking, and I think it'll be rocking. So, questions?
You kind of talked about this, but the contrast in just personnel, because they got their 5 guys all average more minutes, I think, than any of your guys. But how do you see that matching up in game as far as what you're able to do and what they like to stick with?
I mean, they run. They rest their guys, I guess, sometimes because they'll run, and then if they don't have a break, they'll walk it up. They'll play some zone, I think, to give their guys some breathers. There's no question, our depth should help us, but their talent is at a high level. Like I said, most coaches I talk to in the league say they may be the most talented starting 5 in our league. I don't know our league. I mean, you look at it, and it's just so many good teams, and yet so many teams have gone up and down a little bit. But I'm expecting them to be aggressive. I'm expecting the place to be rocking, and I'm expecting them to come at us. And that's the way we're going to prepare.
I believe Maryland's won their past 4, 9 out of 10. Pretty solid momentum behind that team. I'm curious what effects, when a team's on a heater like that, you see in the way they play.
Yeah, Michigan was on a good run. We were on a good run and won 13 in a row and went and laid 2 eggs out west. I think it's beneficial. You're feeling good about yourself. I think the crowd there is a big difference when they're winning and when they're losing. And so I'm expecting it to be Illinois, Michigan on steroids. I really do. I really believe that. You remember that student section on the end. It's impressive. And so I think, hey, when you've only lost 1 game at home, that was to Marquette early. When you haven't, when you're playing your best basketball right now, the last 5 games, they're shooting a tremendous percentage from both the field and the 3. They're shooting well from the free throw line. They get there. I mean, our stats are very even in every area except, of course, the 3-point shooting favors them. So the rebound battle, I think the missed shot is going to be very important. They got 2 guys that can gobble those up. We're going to have to be solid in that. And hopefully we can take it at them a little in there and get somebody in foul trouble with the extra depth we have.
I'm wondering about your team now, back on a little bit of a heater itself. What did maybe those guys learn from that stretch with losing those 3 and the 4, and how do they turn that, I guess, the mentality and keep that up now and sustain it for the final 4 games here?
Yeah. You know, I mean, I think we're getting to be a very good team. I think we've done some really good things, but we're not overwhelming anybody. And so what we did in those games, we played a very good UCLA team. Indiana's proven that, you know, with everybody back, I mean, there's a strange lineup that 2 of their best players didn't even start yesterday. So, you know, I told you, everybody's got issues and everybody's like this. And I think we've been pretty consistent. You know, the game we lost to USC, it was disappointing because we didn't rebound and we didn't shoot. I think we missed 8 or 9 free throws in that game, and that was the difference in the game. Give them credit. They played better than us. UCLA, it came down to the wire. Indiana, you know, I didn't do a very good job. So we can blame a player, we can blame the coach, we can blame the schedule, and we can just say that we've been pretty consistent, especially for the fact that we're not overpowering anybody. What we got to do down the stretch is we got to realize we're still a very good defensive team. We've got to rebound the ball. We can't turn the ball over. And the better we shoot the ball from 3, the better team we'll be, as proven the other night.
Hey, Tom, big win on the road against your rival, leading the Big Ten right now. So what are some winning problems that come with the success you're having right now?
Yeah, you know, I talked to a couple coaches in our league about that, too. I talked to Adam about that the other day. You know, I don't know if anybody saw Matt Painter's press conference after the game. It was really good. You know, there are more problems now than we used to have. I mean, it's just the way it is, you know. But what we keep telling our guys, it's a small group, small that think you're unbeatable and small that think you're worthless. And we still got to stay with who we are and what we are and not get carried away by anything. You know, we've beaten some of the best teams in the league, and we've been beaten by some of the mid to lower teams in the league. And, you know, that's the way it is, and that's the way it is in college basketball right now. So I think the worries you have is, do you start thinking you're better than you are? I don't see that happening with this team. Our practice yesterday was great. You know, I think these guys, we didn't skip the process. I talked about it earlier in the year. I think they've gradually gotten better. I think we've got some players that have gotten better. There's no doubt that Jace Richardson has become a candidate for, you know, the all-freshman and freshman player of the year. I mean, I know there's some better players, and he's done it in a lot of different areas. You know, I think I feel the worst right now for Jaden, because I think Jaden Akins, if we could get those 2 wings going the way that our other guards are playing, I think it'll make a big difference. And as I said, nobody's worked harder, and I believe in my heart his defense has been much, much better than a year ago. His rebounding, his overall play, he's just not shooting the ball as good. And that's probably more in your line of work than mine. You know, I think some of it is in his head. But we're still getting 11, 12 shots a game. He's still working on it morning, noon, and night. Thank God he's doing some other things that make up for it. But we need his shooting. If that's pressure, well, welcome to coming to Michigan State. I got pressure on me every day, too, and I'm trying to help him through it, the best I can help him through it. But, you know, coaches don't wave magic wands and get guys out of slump. They work their way out of slumps. And I've had nobody in my career that has spent more time or worked harder on it than he did. And I still believe that's going to happen. And when it does, as somewhat did the other night, we'll just be a better team. And I really believe that.
I asked you about his rebounding, but the defensive job that Cohen Carr did on Danny Wolf, I look back to like when he played Rutgers and was on Ace Bailey, two very different style of player, and I'm curious, his athleticism and the way he can move, how much does that benefit him defensively and give him so many different matchups he can succeed in?
Yeah, we were talking as a staff today. I think Cohen Carr's, Jaden has improved defensively a lot. Jace is improving as the year goes on. Jeremy and Trey were good defenders, but Cohen Carr maybe has taken the biggest step. We talked about early in the year that he has tremendous hops, and vertically is really good, but laterally, he has changed that around totally. He has become a very, very good defender that can defend the multiple type of players, small, big. I think he is going to be one of the more versatile defenders in our league, and that's a great credit to him. He's improved his shooting. We know that's not where it's got to be yet, but it's definitely making progress. But his defensive ability in a lot of these games, he's just better at guarding guards. He's having to guard some bigs. I thought he did a decent job when he was on Wolf. Wolf's a hell of a player, So I'm not saying it was out of this world, but he's definitely made significant advancement in his defensive ability to guard off ball screens, guard quicker guys. Yeah, really happy for him and us.
Tom, you talked about it a little bit, but going back looking at your yard play overall, I think they had 60 or whatever of your points, but the ability to, even when your starting lineup changes, Trey comes in, goes out, but he's still effective. Just what you thought about those guys as a group overall at Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, where Jace is unbelievable is the lights don't seem to matter to him. I remember almost his second game, third game, whenever it was at Kansas. He led us in scoring in the first half. It seemed like it didn't even faze him, and he hit I don't know how many shots in the first part, but I think he scored our first 5 or 7 points, and he just has. I think he's getting more and more comfortable. I think he's doing more, and that's a credit to him. He's definitely proving that he didn't have to take a backseat to many people, many freshmen in this league for sure. And so when he's like that, and where he's a little different, some guys that just can score the ball, he can drive it. He's a phenomenal finisher, but he's shot great from the three. He's been able to get his mid-range game going. He's been able to get fouled, which he's shooting 90% from the free throw line. And he's moving the ball and get other guys involved. And so now you guard Jace differently, and it leaves Trey open for some shots and Jaden open for some shots. So it starts, to be honest with you, with Trey. And then, Jeremy, I thought, had a much better second half. Trey was phenomenal in that stretch. And Jaden made some plays. I made a couple great drives in that. I'm just hoping and waiting for him to get that three-point shot going, and I think it changes us a lot if you got Jace on one side and him on the other, and Trey doing what he's done, and then Cohen can come in and guard different ways. And I don't want to forget our bigs because, you can look at the discrepancy in somebody's bigs and our bigs in scoring, but if you look at the rebounding, if you look at the screening, if you look at the total game, we're getting a lot out of those guys in a lot of different ways.
Coach, this season the team has really rallied around the strength in numbers motto that we see on the warm-up shirts. What has that motto meant to this team in terms of motivation? And when did the realization arise that strength in numbers for this team was more than just a nice set of words?
Yeah, well put, because it's not a nice set of words. You're exactly right. I think they bought in. I think they believe in. There's two things. You gotta buy into it a little bit, but it doesn't work until you believe in it. And that's where I think the togetherness and the camaraderie of our team is, because they believe in it, they pull for one another. It's been amazing, and I told you about a month ago that the minutes would start changing a little bit, and they have, but the consistency of having different players that can help you, we're getting 1 or 2 guys now that are rising above that, and that's good. That's good for us, but we feel that we can keep throwing people at you, and is that why we're better defensively down the stretch? Is that why we're winning some games down the stretch? I don't know, but I know this: the chemistry, camaraderie, togetherness of our team, I think, is because they feel good about it. They feel good for each other, and that's been a big part of this team and makes it very enjoyable to practice and play in games. And so, as I told you, I said to them before the game, it's been fun and a privilege to coach you, and as you feel that it gets fun and a privilege to play here, now it all comes together, and we still got some work to do, but it's coming.
I'm wondering about the overall defense. I know you talked a little bit about Cohen, but just the connectivity that they have right now. I mean, I think you've had the last 3 teams under 70, and then on the road, I think it's 3 in a row with the UCLA game and the last 3. But I guess more on the road, how much has that been a factor, the things that you've been able to get done?
Well, our defense has been really good. Our field goal percentage has actually gone up a little bit defensively, but because we're playing really good teams too. I mean, that's been another thing. We've played the best teams in the last 4 or 5 games, and I think the connectability of what you said, the connection between players, has really helped. Our bigs are doing a good job on the ball screens. Our guards are doing a better job getting over them. We're just, we've been connected. That is a good word. We've been connected, and hopefully we'll stay connected. Whoever asked the question about, what happens when you win, sometimes those things happen when you win. People get more selfish. People get more this and that. I don't see it happening to this team just because it's been 26, 7, 8 games like it is. It's been a summer. It's been practices. But who knows, and I guess that's my job to help keep that group together. And but they're doing a good job of keeping them together too. And I the whole team went to the hockey game the other night. It was kind of fun to watch. Them calling our guys wanting their jerseys to wear. Those are things that mean you're invested in the program. You're invested in the athletic department. You're not just invested in the basketball. Some people have trouble getting people to invest just in their own basketball. And these guys have been invested in the entire university. And lucky to have that so far.
Excuse me. When you look at the strength and numbers thing, how much credit, I guess, would you say Trey deserves when you got an older guy who's played different roles and done different things for you game to game? How important has he been to making that whole motto work, do you think?
Well, he is important. And, I mean, Jace was going to get into that lineup, in a matter of who I felt would help us the most as far as handling it. And number 2, making the rotation easier. And so I did. I went to Trey, and I talked to him about it. And I'm not saying if he would have fought me, I wouldn't have done it. I was going to do it with somebody because it was earned. But I would say that Trey he acted like a captain. And, it's kind of benefited him. And he's playing more minutes. And, thank God for Morris Peterson, because I can use that till the day I die. First player, made all Big Ten as a sub. And but Trey does deserve a lot of credit. And I think him and Jace, it's even gotten stronger. So that's where a coach is lucky in this day of selfishness and individualness. 4 games left of the regular season. I haven't seen that rear its ugly head very often, and I'm appreciative of that.
When you've been rolling the 10 in and you get to this point, you're almost at March. Are you wondering where you're noticing the benefit of everybody's minutes being down a little bit, especially when you're going to go play a team where they kind of got to redline it every night, and you guys have kept the minutes down?
And like I said, our minutes are going up a little bit for key guys, but I don't think there's any question we don't seem to be burned out and we don't seem to be fatigued. You know, there's a couple teams in our league right now that are really good, and I see that in them, you know, and I understand it. That could have been us some other years. But we seem to be getting stronger down the stretch, and we seem to be getting stronger in the end of games. And so is it all because of that? I don't know. I really don't. But I think it makes sense. I think it is. And I think that our players feel comfortable with it. And that's the most important thing, you know. Our players feel comfortable with it.
Coach, you just mentioned burnout. When you're at this point of the season, especially coming off the 7 days you just had, what are some things you can lean on through your experience here, as far as the approach you've taken in the past at, during this last leg of the season?
I'm not sure very often I've gone through a stretch like these last month. I mean, I told you everything was back and loaded, and then the fact that we played a lot of games in a lot of days. But what I haven't noticed, I worry a little bit about the mental fatigue. I haven't seen a lot of the physical fatigue, and I think that has helped us, and even the players, I think, would agree with it. I mean, a couple of players asked to come out of a couple of these games lately, just to get a break, and that's a good thing. That means they're pushing it, and that means they know they're going to go back in. So what do I lean on? I've got a lot of experience in a lot of areas. I'm not sure, it was 2005 that I had a team that had this kind of depth, and that was a long time ago. But what I lean on is what I learned about them this summer, fall, and now during the season. And I'm very honest with them. I talk to them daily about pitfalls and what I see and what I think we need to do. And one of the big battle cries now is, can we get over worried about getting told you did something wrong as a negative and start looking at it as, we're trying to help you, we're trying to help us. And I think that comes, and it's coming, and it's not as easy as you think today as it was 5 years ago even.
I don't know what you're doing or saying at halftime, but you've had three really strong second halves in a row, particularly the game at Illinois and at Michigan on the road. How much has your team impressed you, the way they've responded at winning time to make plays and get these games that, frankly, in both of them, you look like you're in trouble at the half?
Yeah, number one, I don't like to be in trouble at the half, but, and that I think in Ann Arbor was a lot to do with the 9 turnovers we had the first half. But I think trust and confidence is something that is harder to get this day and age, and I think, as I told them, I want them to trust me, but I got to trust them, and so unselfishness, trust, all those things go. And I think at halftime we told them we did not play very well the first half. I don't know how Dusty felt they played it. It really doesn't matter. I can only worry about my team, and I kind of wrote some things on the board that said that, and that's all I wrote on the board. And it was mostly because of the turnovers, and there were turnovers that led to some touchdowns, and so if a team can take constructive analysis, then a team's going to be better. They're going to get better. We're going to get better. And do I do it different than I did 10 years ago? Probably. But you know what? I'm so sick of hearing old school, new school, this school, that school, all these things. If you do something wrong, you need to correct it. And if you do something right, you need to build on it. And that hasn't changed since before Judd started coaching. It was right around when the wheel was invented. So it's not been anything different. It's just we don't always look at it the same way. We don't always take it the same way. I think this team has spent enough time with each other, enough time with me, and those former players, as they did when they came back, and as they do with phone calls here and there, it's getting that time of year when all the little things matter more. One of the things we're concerned about, be very honest, Cohen hasn't shot quite as good from the free throw line in the last 4 or 5 games. Coop hasn't shot quite as good from the free throw line. You know, that much off, no, when you don't get that many chances. But let's preventative manage and work a little harder at it. Come on in a little extra. I know Cohen came in this morning. Just do those little things, you know, and don't take it as a negative. Take it as, I want to get better. I need to get better. We need to get better. That's what I'm seeing in this team.
Tom. Great, thank you. Tom, you said memory-making moments has been a theme. Can you take us a little into the bus ride back, and did you get to take it in a little bit?
You know, of course. I mean, of course you do. I mean, Mark D'Antonio sent me a text and said, you know, it's the best hour ride you can have. You know, it's one of the times you hope for a Northern Michigan bus ride, you know, 8 hours instead of just 1. But, I mean, listen, they've got a very good team. You know, it's going to be another war when they come here. The final score wasn't indicative of the game. But the only thing that matters is it on the left column or is it on the right column? If it's by 1, if it's by 21, if it's in overtime or if it's in regulation, it really doesn't matter. But anytime you win a road game, the plane, it feels better coming home. And you beat a really good team, and it happens to be your rival, and it's right down the road. Of course, it was fun, you know, and we did that. And even though we gave them Sunday off, or Saturday off, I should say, you know, I didn't reinvent the Perlis rule. I mean, it wasn't 24 hours worth, you know, because there's too much to do. And I realized that we were in trouble in that game at times. So keeping it all into perspective, you got to enjoy wins because you don't get enough time to enjoy things. And so I did till morning, and then it was on to Maryland.
Tom, I want to ask you about Xavier Booker, who's at in Illinois and Michigan, both had big threes in both those games that were pivotal at a juncture. And yet, you know, I'm wondering how you sort of work through using him where he can help you, and then, you know, realizing where he can't in certain matchups, and then keeping him engaged enough to hit those shots at those times as well.
You know, there's always things that you do as a coach that makes you stay up at night, you know. Jaden, because I know how hard he works on his game, and he's been a good player. In fact, a real good player, but not quite where he wants to be, not quite where I need him to be. That keeps you up at night. And Book's the other one, you know. I know how talented Book is. And if you don't get that out of somebody, you know, first thing I always do is look in the mirror. Look at my assistants, talk to him, talk to Book, you know. He is staying engaged, you know. I'm sure he's disappointed, but some of it is the matchups. Here's a team that's going to play a lot of bigs, and Michigan was a different kind of big because one of their bigs was a point forward, to be very honest with you. But those threes are important to us, and the threat of them is important to us. And we're just trying to get them to still got to defend, still got to rebound, still got to make shots, you know, and those 3 things are important. Now, this week, he called us and asked to be on the scout team, which I think is a really, 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 really good thing to do. You know, I've had starters on the scout team. I mean, Magic told the team the story that when they were preparing for Indiana State, he was on the scout team. He was Larry Bird because Judd had nobody that could be Larry Bird. So for those 2 days, he was Larry Bird. Magic Johnson can be on the scout team. You know, I think it benefited. Xavier Tillman started here and was on the scout team a lot because they get more reps, they get more confidence, they get more chances. And out of the clear blue, he did. That was kind of really important to us. We just said, you know, we're not losing him. You know, it's been a tough year. He's helped us a lot, not as much as I think he could or can or should, but I don't give up on Book ever because he's a great kid. He's a good student. It's just taken a little longer, and Is that frustrating for everybody? Probably. But nobody is it more frustrating to than to him. And I've got to be aware of that. And, so I said, if we can get Book playing a little better, if we can get Jaden making a few more shots, this team that's turning into a really good team, then you could say maybe is a contender for something instead of still hanging around yet. And I'm not putting down my team. I'm not building them up. I know what I know, and I know what I need, and I need those two things. So you're right. The threes here and there are important. The threat of them are even more important sometimes. But we need to get more out of him, and we have to do our part to do that too. It doesn't just fall on him. We've got to continue to push him and coach him and convince him that we need him. And I'm going to do that. Thanks, guys.